Is Whataburger's Honey Barbecue Chicken Strip Sandwich a work of art? The 3 chicken strips covered in melted Monterey Jack cheese are a study in contrasts and surprise. And the honey barbecue sauce, while at first unexpected, becomes a sweet delight to the senses. Plus, there's the 2 thick slices of Texas toast that are the canvas for this tasteful creation. And you can eat it. How about that for a masterpiece you can really bite into? The Honey Barbecue Chicken Strip Sandwich at Whataburger. Just like you like it.
The radio side going right now. All right, let's move on here. Toe Tag, nice to have you here as we continue on with roll call. My brother Eugene, how are you? Gorgeous Stone Hobbit. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Sugar Britches, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Nightmare, nice to have you back. And who else do we have joining us here so far? We have Sharon Gee. What's happening? Thank you for joining us. And who else is here as we are running out of time? There's Project Blue Book. And let's see here. Scrolling on down. Chris Miller, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. And Roy the Boy, good to see you. Newfie, what's happening? How you doing, man? And thank you for the great guitars. Enzo, what's happening? Michael Haywood, Daryl Zernick, nice to see you. And Jerry O'Brien, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you. I know it's late, but there it is. I said it. Let's move on here. Johnny Music, what's happening? How's your tight beard and mustache combination? TMI, Mennonite Abe, what's happening, guys? Thank you for joining us. We're running out of time. Super Chat is open. It is a great way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Advocate, nice to see you. And Pyromedic, nice to have you here. Do me a favor, people. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of snowy British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, and check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you lined up to kick off my first show of the year here tonight. Marina Seren is here to talk ETs and hybrids. We'll get to her in a moment. Then in hour 3, we will bring you a story from the swamp, from our good buddy Swamp Dweller. Then we got the fedora-wearing John Hudson with the unbiased UFO report, of course, Shirky Poo's news, and the thought of the day. But first, let's get to our guest. Marina Seren is a 21-year-old experiencer from Madrid, Spain. She's a psychic medium, an extrasensory seer, a conscious channeler of her higher mind, an intuitive artist, ET contactee, alien abductee, hybrid alien mother, MyLab MK Ultra survivor, and a secret space program psychic super soldier. We are in for a good one tonight. Now, at only 21, it seems that she's experienced a lot. However, all of these experiences started when she was just 15 years old in 2015. The wake-up call that encoded her DNA activation started her path of spiritual awakening and recovering of some very, very important memories. We are going to learn all about this young lady tonight as we welcome in Marina Seren, all the way from Madrid, Spain. Thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio. How are you, Marina?
Hi, thanks for inviting me, Dave. I'm good. I hope you're too.
It is very good to have you here. Now, a lot of people will say, look at you and all of these experiences that you're having, and they're going to say, how can any 21-year-old have all of these experiences? For you, though, this is a lifetime that you didn't choose, yet here you are. Take us back to when you were 15 years old and tell us what happened. When did you start learning about this?
Sure. Well, when I was 15 years old, I was in high school. And one of my biggest concerns was my career, my studies. Well, I knew for a fact that what I wanted to dedicate myself to, it's physics, it's science, but it's specifically physics. Because I consider that physics is that science that can explain the structure of things, the structure of existence, matter, and energy. So I remember that was my highest excitement at the moment. And that was, let's say, expressing a really specific desire, like a strong, wish to understand everything about existence, like the structure of existence itself. And so I will dedicate myself to create hypotheses about how the universe was created, about what is everything about, what is consciousness about, what is, life itself about. And so I will start, navigating through, particle physics and subatomic physics and all of these. And I will end up realizing that there was a missing element to all of that, which is the subjective, let's say, aspect of existence, that which is not tangible, that which is not objective or structural, which is consciousness. That's when I realized that the answer to why of existence, the why of, the universe and its mechanisms, it's a mixture, or let's say a balance between science and consciousness, creativity and logic, So that was my first introduction to the world of metaphysics, I realized that was even more scientific, more close to what actually reality is about than just physics. So I started to navigate through that, let's say, like field, of many different information, like about, well, maybe this is a simulation, and that's when I learned about the Schrödinger cat's experiment, on all of these theories that explain that maybe, we live in a matrix, and that in fact everything that we see, even if it's solid, even if it's crystalline, it's not true. It's not like reality itself. It's a projection of your consciousness. So really everything is just an illusion, and we are the creators of this simulation. And when that first thing just clicked on me, then I found myself navigating through all of these other different questions, like, then who are we as a species? What is humanity about? Are we alone in the universe? And that's when I started digging into anthropology and evolution, like biology and everything, in regards to our species, and ask myself about human evolution and question it, because we have been taught that we, evolved from the ape, that we evolved from the monkeys, basically. And at that moment, it just didn't make sense, just for the fact that, in comparison with many others, with the thousands and millions of species that live in this planet, we are so advanced in consciousness in terms of understanding our reality that it just doesn't make sense that we came from such beings and naturally evolved into this that we are today, I realized that if evolution itself is caused by a series of, let's say, natural events in our ecosystem, triggering a species to make a specific change, to mutate their DNA, to adapt to that series of events and circumstances, then that event should have been so big, so specific, that it will actually, let's say, explain that we get to where we are today. And not only make us evolve, but also other species, which seems that they didn't respond at all. So why specifically us? Why? And also, if we were adapted to the ecology, to like the ecosystems that we were, let's say, interacting, that we were existing and coexisting with other species, why then it's that we completely changed our evolutionary path as it was going, as it was flowing to one direction, to another one in which we will decide that certain attributes of our genetic makeup that were perfectly in line with the ecosystem, in relationship with other species, will have to mutate into a different direction. Why that change, So, for example, the teeth, the claws, all of that was fine because we're mammals, and like other apes, they use it, and it's something that it's working for them. So why in our case we decided to shift from that, let's say, evolutionary path to this other path, and not just that. Then when we see the Rh negative factor, in our blood, it just doesn't make sense, because it is not logical, that nature decides to, globally speaking, nature decides to trigger a mutation in our genome, in our collective genome, in which there is a rejection of an actual child of a mother because it is expressing a different protein, like lacking a specific protein within the blood, It is not an evolutionary, let's say, mutation. So why it happened globally, not just individually? Because usually when there is a mutation that it is not adaptive, that it is not for the good, because it causes rejection or even death in cases like this, it doesn't work for our survival, but against our survival, then it usually manifests individually, or, in really small cases, not globally. But it actually did. So why that happened? And that's when you realize that the only plausible answer here is because we are a hybrid species. We did not evolve naturally in this planet. We were genetically altered by really advanced beings that came into this planet a long time ago, which then I found out through research and downloads of information that those are the ones we call Anunnaki. And there's thousands of platforms, that share millions of articles about these people, and all of them, seem to be really to align together, So I started to realize that was the case, that reality is a simulation. Nothing is truly real or solid or crystalline. It's all a quantum wave of probability. And that we are not, naturally evolved from this planet. We are not fully indigenous. We are hybrids with ET DNA. So when I realized that, those things, you can imagine that the rest of things just followed up. My spiritual awakening, my ET contacts, my life experiences, all of these things started to manifest in my life. And that's when I took the crazy train to this journey of awakening.
For you, as you decided to investigate this a lot further down your own path, what did you learn about yourself? Because a lot of us just kind of fall into this, and we are trying to figure out that same message. What did you learn about you?
Well, spiritual awakening, it's all about learning who you truly are, but not from a, let's say, human perspective, because, in our society, we're always taught that we are an identity, an ego, a face, our style, our clothes. And yes, that's true. That's part of our, let's say, identity in a sense. But that's so little compared to the greatness, to the vastness of who we truly are, And so when we start our spiritual awakening, we realize one big important thing, that we are eternal. So this is not our only identity or our only essence, let's say. Two, that we are multidimensional beings, so there are thousands of facets and fractals of energy, of identity of who we truly are. And three, that that we are operating right now here as a third density consciousness, so we are pretty limited as to who we are and what the universe is really about. But there's so much more to it, It's a journey of rediscovery, reawakening that which was forgot back in the day.
So for you, as you started to learn more about your own journey and everything that you have been through, did you look at the lineage in your family of whether or not there were other members of your family who had been involved in this entire process of ET contact?
Well, what I realized for a fact is that my parents were not, let's say, average people. Both of them exhibited like really specific traits that are not fully common, like psychic gifts or high intuition or certain experiences when they were younger. So that made me question that made me realize that maybe I did have a special lineage, which then I found out to be true, that I had a hybrid lineage. I have a lineage, a spiritual lineage that certainly was special because it contained a higher percentage of extraterrestrial genetics, which made me a hybrid, not just because of this heritage from my parents, but also because of me as a soul, like my actual, let's say, soul DNA. And that's what people often miss when they start to question their own genetics, their own like extraterrestrial percentage of genetics. It's not just about your physical lineage of where you are, in which vessel you are incarnated. That's just the channel, the let's say vessel that channels, more information about yourself. But it's also about your own metaphysical DNA of who you are as a soul and the, let's say, trail of experiences that you have had so far in your incarnations or along the universe, along this time. So when people, for example, talk in New Age community about starseeds, they think that, again, it's just about your heritage. They look at their bloods, they try to trace, like ancestors, and yes, that is connected to that, to that hybrid DNA. But the soul DNA, it's mostly what triggers those genetics that you inherited from this special like ET ancestry to really wake up. It takes a soul to activate certain genetics that were put to sleep by the Anunnaki back in time. And also, when there's an incarnation, there is a hybridization between your soul DNA and the physical DNA of the vessel that you're incarnated in. So, if you are a soul that has more connection to other planets or to a really specific civilization or planes of consciousness, if you have reached, that higher level of consciousness in your past lives incarnations, then when you incarnate in this one, there is a hybridization between the soul DNA and the physical DNA, and you will exhibit more that consciousness, in this new lifetime. So that also matters, not just your physical ancestry, let's say.
Okay, so for you, when you started to look inside yourself, how did you, as we got about 5.5 minutes to go before the break at the bottom of the hour, how did you figure out that you were a part of all of these different types of programs? What led you down that path to understand?
Well, firstly, by understanding that I was a hybrid myself, which which came to me as questioning my physical appearance, because all my life I've been, told that I look non-human in a good sense, let's say. Like, people will question my eyes because they were really big. They will tell me you have really big eyes, you have like an odd appearance. And I will say, well, yes, it's true, I have really big eyes. So and I have a lot of flexibility in my hands. There are certain things, in my body and my physical appearance that just didn't, that were a little bit too alien-like, alien-looking. So it started with my appearance, and then it followed up by my IQ, which I presented a higher IQ than the average person. And then, of course, the psychic abilities and the series of experiences that I will start to have, after my awakening.
Okay, so at first, did you figure out that you were an ET contactee? Is that how it started?
Well, at first it started at questioning my appearance, my ET, let's say, features, and my IQ and my psychic abilities.
Okay, so then when do you recall having your first ET contact?
When I was 15 in 2016, and I was having this spiritual Kundalini awakening that I was starting to experience. I received my first downloads of information about, extraterrestrial origins, extraterrestrial civilizations, and my first astral experiences in which I will go outside my body and see these people and communicate with them and even be brought to their planets.
What's it like to travel to another planet?
It's quite amazing. And it's really impressive, but you need to train your physical brain to be able to recall as much information as possible when you wake up, because otherwise a lot of the information will be lost. But the experience is pretty unique, I have to say.
Okay, so I want to get into the ET contact for a little bit because we have so much to go over with you in the next couple of hours here. For you, were you taken by Greys? Were you taken by Anunnaki? What were the beings that you could first recall?
I will say...
Hi, I'm Randy, and this is Dave.
We're the founders of Bombas, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet.
So comfortable, we sold and donated millions of pairs.
To sell and donate a lot of socks, we became obsessed with comfort.
We reinvented the sock from the ground up, adding comfort innovations along the way.
It worked. People tried them, loved them, told their friends about them,
helping us sell and donate millions of pairs.
Try them now at bombas.com/comfy and get 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/comfy.
Calling all partners. Losing weight is better together with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. In fact, people who diet together lose 20% more weight than dieting on their own. Get new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. They're big and filling and taste delicious. Plus, try our new restaurant faves that taste like your favorite restaurant, portioned with half the calories. Don't wait. You could win big cash during Nutrisystem's Better Together Partner Plan 100K giveaway. And maybe win the grand prize of $25,000. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off your first month. You heard me right. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Don't wait. This partner plan offer will not last long. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin.
See website for details on our 2-month subscription offer. No purchase necessary. Open only to U.S. residents over 21. Void where prohibited. Runs December 25 through April 4th, 2022. For official rules, visit Nutrisystem.com. Sponsored by Nutrisystem, Inc.
The first beings that I ever connected to were Andromedans. But the first beings that I ever encountered were actually Arcturians, beings from the Arcturus constellation.
My first one was an Andromedan too.
Oh, how exciting. How cool.
April 15th, 2014.
Amazing.
Yes. So just before yours. So, I mean, for you, as you started to connect with the beings from wherever they are from, whether it's space or time or wherever, why did you feel a connection to them?
Because of my star signature, because my soul has a higher percentage of extraterrestrial DNA. So I operate through a fractal, higher fractal of consciousness, let's say, higher level of consciousness. that is more resonant with those who are not from this planet. Like the aspect of our DNA, let's say, of our species, that is more of an extraterrestrial origin.
Okay, so the fact that you had initial contact when that happened when you were 15, as we got about 90 seconds to go here, did it start coming at you continuously, or was it something that you had to figure out?
I have to say it was pretty fast, because there was a lot of things to explore so far because of the times that we're going through right now. So there was a lot of relevancy. It was really important, let's say, for me to wake up as fast as I could, leaving me, of course, a space and time to settle down and ground. But it happened quite fast.
Do you like living this way?
I love it. It feels like home.
Home is where?
Home is where I am.
For now.
For now.
Where do you want to be?
The most aligned with who I truly am possible. Because it's not about the physical place, it's about the state of being.
On that note, that's a good place to end the first half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight, as we have Marina Seren all the way from Madrid, Spain, talking us about her ET contact, about hybrids. We're going to get into Super Soldier Program and much more. We have her for another 90 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to this. And we got to make sure that we continue on with this high level of high quality woo to kick off the new year here on Spaced Out Radio. This is going to get a lot of fun tonight, guys. It really is, because stories like this intrigue the living daylights out of me. Hour 2, or the second half hour, is next. All right, we're clear. That's a good start. Good start.
Yeah, I love it.
Good. Good. I'm very much looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it. All right. We've got the thumbs up from Sparky Parker. I'm loving tonight's woo. There we go. I'm loving it. Loving it. This is good stuff. This is good stuff right here. Now we just get to hang out for a couple of minutes.
Nice.
And remember, our YouTube channel can hear us, so that's okay. Let's see here.
Yeah, fine.
Now, when you were taken by the Andromedans, did they? Oh, pardon me. When you first had your meeting with them, were you taken? Did they show you what they look like?
It was the Arcturians, the first ones who actually take me. And it was my astral form, not my physical body. So it was not as scary, let's say.
When Samantha Mowat and I encountered the Andromedans in the forest, there were two different kinds there. There was the guy that I saw, which was a light tan color. He was about 10 to 12 feet tall. And then he ended up changing color and going to a darker tan. But there was also and I didn't see this guy, the other guy who was communicating with Samantha, he was about you would look at him, if you were to look at him, he was a 6 foot gray type being, except he was tan colored as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was really cool. Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it is scary at first.
Yeah. Scared the hell out of me, but that's okay. That's okay. I lived to tell about it. I did. And I would do anything to have that experience again. And I don't know if it'll happen.
I know, right?
I wish it did. How often are you having contact?
Well, mostly through my psychic contact, because I am a natural psychic medium. So when I need to know about a certain information, I get words or I get communication, in my head. Or when there is information that needs to get to me more specifically, like visually and through an experience, I actually get I get contacted in the astral, like in the dream state.
I don't like the dreams. I really don't like the dreams. Weird things happen in the dreams, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that just gives me shit. Hey, everybody. Cable Guy Matt is here. Remember that if you hit up Cable Guy Matt, you can hit him up for your free piece of autographed coaxial cable, autographed by Cable Guy Matt. You cannot buy these in stores, ladies and gentlemen. Literally only allowed one per household. So say hi to Cable Guy Matt and hit him up for your piece of coaxial cable today. All right. I want to say a big thank you to my fellow Canadian Lori, to John Music, Jeff, Ozzy Ange, Larry A., and Nicola for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much for everybody who is super chatting. It's a great way to help us out on a daily basis, so thank you. I know I'm repeating myself, so thank you, and thank you again. Trinitro, nice to see you. And let's see here. One Love, welcome to the channel. Thank you to all of our new listeners. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Lynn Wallington, 6 to 8 p.m. on Pacific on Saturdays and Sundays, and the after shows following right after. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in. I want to remind you that all of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Marina Seren. She is a ET contactee since the age of 15. She's only 21, but she's been a hybrid mother. She has been part of MK Ultra, My Lab's Super Soldier program. We are going to get deep into this right now. Marina, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
You are very welcome. At what point did you learn that you were a hybrid mother?
I learned it when I was about 17 years old. And that was through another channeler who channels extraterrestrials. And they were the ones who confirmed me that it was true, my hypothesis about having a hybrid DNA myself. And they actually hinted that, apart from that, I was actually participating in those hybrid programs known as the great hybrid programs, and other ones that were interacting with ETs that were more of a human nature.
Have they ever showed you, they being the ETs, how many hybrid children you have?
I haven't been told of any specific number so far, but I have had hybrid presentations.
What's that like?
To be honest, it's kind of shocking because as a 21-year-old, I am definitely not prepared to be a mother. I am definitely not even thinking about it. So, as it is something that I didn't decide it like consciously, I don't get attached to that identity of mother because I don't feel happy. But I feel it's great to have given away my DNA to other civilizations because maybe it is a fun experience, and I am excited to see how it helps them and how an aspect of my, let's say, essence, my identity, my beingness gets to, express itself out there in the cosmos. So,
for a lot of hybrid mothers out there, there's an emotional attachment to their hybrid children that are floating around somewhere in space, wherever that may be, with whatever beings may be. Do you have that same emotional attachment to the hybrid children?
Absolutely not. Because again, as I never planned to be a mother, I do not identify with the idea of mother as, the parenting nature, but rather as a mother from the perspective of I have given away my DNA. So technically, I do have children, but it's not that I feel like mother, like taking care of the children, parenting. I definitely do not feel that way because I'm way too young for that and I'm not prepared. And I know also that they are not, they are well taken care of, so there's nothing to worry. So I'm fine with that.
Okay. So the idea that we have in regards to that, because you don't have that paternal or maternal instinct that goes along with being a parent, for you, do you still get taken to have your eggs taken from you for hybridization program?
Yes, I am still experiencing encounters with these beings in which I give away my material physical DNA for the creation of more hybrids. But the point of highest inflection, in which I was, being the most active in these programs, it's when I was about 15 to 16 to 17 years old. That's the age in which I interacted the most and the age in which I gave away most of my, more amount of my genetic material.
Okay. So the fact that you don't have this, do they show you your hybrid children when you were taken? Do you have interest in seeing them?
Yes, when it's relevant for me, when I ask it, whether if it's from a conscious perspective, or unconscious, they often take me to meet some of them so that I become aware of them and maybe choose to connect if I choose to, of course. So, yes.
Now, out of the hybrid children that you have, what species are they? What is your DNA crossed with?
The most, the one that I'm most aware of, it's the one with the grays, which are us from the future. And so far, it's the highest amount of, they are the most that I've ever been aware of my own children, But there's also mixing with Manti DNA and Pleiadian DNA.
Have they told you what they're doing it for?
am not aware of the purposes of Pleiadian beings for utilizing human DNA for the creation of hybrids. There might be a reason and a narrative and a history behind it, as everything has. But I'm only aware of why the Greys are specifically doing that and interacting in such ways with us right now.
And what do you think that purpose is? Is it about to expand their? I mean, there's a lot of people who believe that the Greys can't breed on their own, that they need the human DNA in order to keep their species going. Is that what you have heard as well?
That is correct in a sense, but to understand the reason behind why there is a hybrid agenda going on right now with the Greys, we will need to look back far away in history, in human history, back to the creation of our species with the Anunnaki. Basically, the Greys are asked from the future, from a parallel possibility, from a parallel future, timeline of us, like evolution of us, of our species, that didn't make it well, let's say, because they realized, they came to the conclusion that that the emotional body was not useful, was not something that was something to take care of, something that was, let's say, uplifting or evolutionary or advantageous in a sense. So they consider that shutting down the emotions, shutting down the human nature, that which makes us human, was far more advanced than just being natural as we were created, as we exist. So they put a lot of interest in the evolution of their intellect, in the development of more sciences, even in the manipulation of their own genetics, so to expand this specific aspects of their consciousness, the mind, the intellect, not the body, the heart, the emotions. So by doing so, they ended up being unable to reproduce naturally by after so much mutation, artificial engineering and cloning, to a degree that by disconnecting themselves from their own nature, they ended up disconnecting themselves from nature and even destroying them. So as a result, of that, their ecosystem got destructed, their version of Earth got destructed, to a point in which they needed to go back in time to a parallel version of Earth in which human DNA was still viable or healthy, let's say, which is us, and make agreements with these beings, with this collective, in which we will, give away our genetic material so that they will subsist, they will not become extinct. And in exchange, they will also give little of their own DNA, genetic material, to us for the purpose of teaching us not to go their way, like enhancing certain aspects of our DNA so that we will not commit the same mistakes, to avoid those catastrophes.
Okay. I want to ask you, in regards to your own experiences, is most of your information happening while you are getting downloads or on a subconscious level rather than a conscious awakened level where, like you and I are today, where they're coming down, meeting with you, maybe having some breakfast for breakfast because people should never eat breakfast foods for dinner? I'm curious. How does this work?
Well, it's a series of many different mechanisms, all together, working in synchrony. and in harmony. They utilize many different ways to for my consciousness to get through these processes, of integration of this information. For example, synchronicity is a really important aspect of how I get information, which is a psychic, let's say, gift or ability. Downloads, in which I feel suddenly like there is an information that I need to become aware of, that I'm interested in, and so that, let's say, pushes me into the direction of searching, in Google for a really specific thing, and by scrolling, and and navigating through the internet and reading articles, I get a general idea on that which they want me to dive, into for.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a nature show host.
In the native habitat of a suburban driveway, the poor victim of a broken windshield is left assessing his vehicle, utterly helpless.
Well, not true. If he's got Geico, he can file a claim online, over the phone, or with his handy mobile app.
But like a lone gazelle, he'll suddenly be left to fend for himself, awaiting his terrible fate.
Nope. Geico will assign him a designated claims team to help him out, too.
So the gazelle gets his car fixed and everything. Wow, nature is so cool.
Geico. Great service, without all the drama.
Know what's nice? You could drive to Whataburger right now, if you wanted to. Yeah, you could hang a Louie, talk to Reggie at the counter, and get a freshly made 100% beef double meat Whataburger with melted cheese and fresh cut veggies on a 5-inch bun. It's just the delicious freedom you have living in the land where there's Whataburger. Of course, some people aren't in that land. Wonder what they're doing right now. Probably thinking about a road trip. Whataburger, just like you like it.
More detailed. And then there is a psychic experience in which, by just observing that, like the general essence of that information, I start to get thousands of ideas and knowledge that I don't know where it comes from, but it is from my higher mind and from these beings. So it's coming, really easily, like really naturally, but in a way that I feel like I just know it already, because I do. Because first it is given to my higher mind, to my subconscious. And when it's actually integrated there, it naturally just flows to my physical mind, to digest it and to, crystallize it.
Okay, so physically, have they given you any proof? And I realize the word proof is very subjective to a lot of people, because my proof is different than your proof, different than anybody who is listening to this show. Okay, but for you, do you have any physical proof or evidence that they have given you that you could show the world to say, hey, this is what they have given me, this is what they have instructed me to show humankind?
Well, I have certain UFO recordings so far in my phone that I posted in my webpage, that I'm working, that I have also handed to MUFON, and I'm working with an investigator about my case. They have verified that it is not a hoax, that I didn't make up any of it. They analyze it, so that people know it's not fake, it's not photoshopped. And I also have pictures of certain strange ET marks on my knees. I have a lot of them so far in my life. I have pictures of them that I also posted, but so far, my guess is that in some occasions they introduced certain technologies, certain implants, So I have the feeling that if I will go to have an X-ray, test on my knees, I might end up finding something strange there. So that might be and ended up being like a physical proof,
Okay, so you do have videos of their craft and everything that you're getting ready to put on your website. You're working with somebody from MUFON regarding this.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so when when you are getting information or getting videos or whatever, how often is this happening?
Well, pretty much all the time, because I have an autistic mentality, which makes me to be really restricted in interests, So, for example, I'm not really into partying, I'm not really into going out, I'm not really into that. But I'm definitely almost obsessed with all of these fields of knowledge, of information. It's my highest passion, so it's no problem. So almost all the time I'm working on it. So it's a really restricted interest, but I do not consider it to be a negative condition. It's even advantageous in a sense.
Very cool. Very cool. I would like to go onto your website here and show a couple of videos that you have captured. Your website, marinaseren.com, and let's share the screen here. So for our radio audience, what we're doing here is going on Marina's website and checking out some videos here that she has captured over the years regarding UFOs. So in this first one here, we see a light orb in the middle of the day. What was this one about?
That one was in Madrid, and it pretty much looked like an orb in the video, but it was sort of metallic and rounded,
What time of the day was this one happening?
Sorry, what?
What time of the day was this happening?
Oh, it happened approximately at 4 p.m. I actually remember that specific day. I was observing the solstice. There was a solstice or an eclipse. I'm not sure. Not a solstice, an eclipse, a solar eclipse, in August of 2017. And there, I was watching it. I was trying to observe it. And when I turned my back, this thing was there, and I took my phone, as my phone was actually in my hands because I was taking pictures of this event. I had it, it was the perfect time to capture it, a moment.
All right, let's go to the second video, another daytime video. It looks like it's almost getting ready to go into the evening here, but another light orb that's just kind of floating across the blue sky here. When you looking at these videos, I want to ask you right off the bat here: are they the craft calling you outside to see what is going on?
No, actually, it usually happens the other way around. Like, I go outside and I call them psychically, and sometimes they show up.
Very cool. Very cool. So you have the ability to summon UFOs.
We all have, but, we're all connected psychically to many different beings. So if you're working at the moment with any of them, you have a high probability of manifesting such an encounter if you ask them.
Do you know what beings they are? As we look at another video here, this one looks like it's in some sort of mountainous area of the same type of white type of orb that's floating around the sky.
Yeah, that was actually in the village of my grandmother. And yes, it was actually also pretty rounder, but more like a cigar shaped, one in comparison to the other.
Okay, for the skeptics looking at the videos here, any skeptic may say, look, how do you know, like with the distance, you're obviously capturing this with your phone, how do you know with the distance that, it isn't a helicopter or an airplane flying by? obviously your eyes away from the camera, which makes things smaller, are going to be able to see clearly. So we do have to take your word at that.
Yes, and actually, another proof to that specific one, it's that I was not alone. There were friends with me who were witnesses that are not believers, so they wouldn't claim, just like that they are ETs or ships, So for them to believe that, for them to actually claim that it was such a strange, event, like encounter, it had to be this kind of strange experience. And it's not the first UFO sighting in that village so far, so there has been more people who have witnessed it. So
now, is there a big UFO interest in Spain?
So. I mean, I believe that not as big as in America for sure. But in comparison to other European countries, I will say that yes, right now there is a rise in consciousness of many people, Spanish people, getting interested into the UFO phenomenon.
That makes it interesting. And then in this final one, you have some dark photos here of what is going on, like a blue light glowing through some clouds. What is happening here?
Well, that was a really strange experience, a really strange UFO sighting so far because it wouldn't move. That was actually in my house, in my terrace, and I was with my mother, and when we looked outside, we observed that there was a bright blue light in the clouds, and it was not moving, it was static. And the strangest thing is that it will shift from blue to red and from red to blue, every 20 seconds. So it will actually be quite out of the norm, let's say, in comparison to other UFO sightings.
That is very, very interesting, as we got about 40 seconds left. And I will tell you something about that blue. All right, I have seen a blue very similar to that on the ground. And this was a landing that happened in front of me in 2014. And I had the opportunity to talk to Luis Elizondo privately about that. And
wow.
And when I talked to him about that, one of the things he said was, did the blue change color to red?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, God, what did he tell you?
And I said, in my case, it did not. He's like, because the sightings is that blue, which is very, very tough to see elsewhere other than the sky, will sometimes be witnessed changing to red. And on that note, we're going to wrap up hour number 1 here of Spaced Out Radio. Marina Seren is our guest tonight. MarinaSeren.com is her website. More ET hybrid SSP talk after this.
Wow, I didn't know that it was also like an experience of other people. I thought it was the strangest I've ever seen in my life.
The blue that I saw, I was about 150 yards away from it. And it was a cylinder that was standing vertically, and all of the white light was coming out from around it. And I know the trees in between me and this object were between 60 to 70 feet in height, and this blue cylinder was 20 to 30 feet because it went up about halfway up on the trees. And that blue, I've only ever seen that blue in photographs twice, yours now being the second. And the other time was the earlier last year, there was a UFO sighting in Hawaii where they saw this blue light that was kind of shooting around the sky, and then it dropped down into the ocean and then disappeared. And that was the exact same blue. And Luis Elizondo knew about that incident, and had him and I were talking about that blue color. And that's when he asked me if it changed color to red. And I said, no, mine stayed blue. So the fact that you got a picture of that blue and stated that it changed to red makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
Did he say anything about which kind of UFOs or information does he have about it? Because I'm really interested.
No, he won't go there. He will not.
Oh.
Yes. I've had a lot of questions about how tall you are.
Why so? Okay. Well, I don't use the American metric system. I mean, inch system. I use a metric system because I'm from Europe. So I'm 1.63 centimeters.
Convert centimeters.
I convert. Yeah.
All right. So you're 1.68 or 168 centimeters. So you're 5 feet 5 inches tall.
Yes.
Chris James, that happened in 2014 on my friend's farm. Irano Yeah. And every night since, I've been looking for that craft. Every night. Can't see it again. Yeah. Interesting, eh? So, that's the way it is. You got aliens. I got aliens. A lot of people got aliens.
We all have an alien inside.
Exactly. Chad Smith, the Chad Smith, has entered the chat room, people. No, those are her natural eyes. Questions are a burden.
Oh.
Look at those.
I have to go.
Look at those eyes, people. Those are not... I mean, she's got the tips on there from the makeup, but her eyes are huge.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to explain to many people around the world so far in interviews that I'm not using Photoshop. In Zoom, in StreamYard, you cannot use filters so far. But anyways, I had thousands of people saying, this is using filters. This cannot be true. I'm not using filters. It's not possible in those platforms.
Very cool. Very cool. Eugene wants to know, how does it feel to be around us old adults, Marina?
It's nice because I'm an old soul. So I feel even more comfortable around adults than young adults of my age.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. All right, we've got about 1 minute. I want to say a big thank you to Nicola, Larry, Ange, Jeff, John, Lori, Marty, Phil, and Space Cow for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. I want to remind everybody we are here 7 days a week. On Saturday and Sunday, you got Lynn Wallington here from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., on Saturdays, that's Pacific time. That's 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Then the after-hour show with Big Willie, John, and Gemma Jade hanging on out afterwards. So 5 hours of entertainment. Make sure you check that on out. It's only on our YouTube and Twitch channels and on Facebook as well. Very soon we're going to be moving Lynn to the podcast format as well. You can support Spaced Out Radio through the Super Chat. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell if you don't mind. And, of course, we have swag on our website. And mark down April 22nd to 24th of this year. We're going to be having our Vegas party. I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about that in the next half hour. So remind me. Here we go, everyone. Hour number 2. Let's rock.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on the terrestrial affiliate around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obliviscence. Obliviscence is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Marina Seren. She is an ET contactee, hybrid mother. She has also dealt with MK Ultra and MyLab programs and the Super Soldier program, which we are dealing with right now. Marina, once again, her website, marinaseren.com. Marina, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
I want to ask you about the Super Soldier program or Secret Space program, whatever you want to call it, SSP. There it is. Now, this is a program that is highly controversial. A lot of people do not believe it exists, yet there are a number of people who come out saying, look, I have worked with these real interesting programs that have craft traveling all over space at all sorts of speeds, light speed, and you name it. And here we are talking about it here tonight. When did you first learn about this program?
That's a really interesting bit of information, because actually I was one of those people. Not that I didn't believe that the Secret Space program existed, because one of my closest friends, when I was starting, to awake and to become aware of all this, information in the ufology community, was a channeler, as I said, and he channels ETs, and he will have, hundreds of clients that will ask about specifically about their own Secret Space program experiences. So I will observe that was a reality. We were having the confirmation right in front of our eyes. But in my case, I've never been really interested, in those programs so far when I was 15, 16, 17, because I thought that there was such a lot of things going on up there. It was such a long narrative of, ET fights, like military people, like groups, like splitting, like conflict, like politics. It's such a, tough, terrain, a complex.
You're on the highway and you see the red and blue TA sign. Quick, what comes to mind?
Tremendous assortment in TA's convenience store.
TA, totally appetizing food and drinks.
Thoroughly accessible place to fuel up.
TA, it stands for Travel Centers of America.
It's the classic dilemma at Whataburger. You pick up your all-time favorite patty melt with 2 fresh all-beef patties, melted Monterey Jack cheese, grilled onions, and creamy pepper sauce. And just when you're about to dig into Whataburger's take on this delicious all-time classic, someone utters the dreaded words.
Can I have a bite?
Should you? Shouldn't you? Maybe you should just take a big bite so you don't have to answer. Ooh, glad that dilemma's over. The Whataburger patty melt, just like you like it.
Field that I thought that it was really destructive, because at the time I was most focused in my spiritual work and my contacts with ET beings, so I wasn't paying attention to it much. Now, I've always been aware since my awakening that I have been a Mylat, which is an abductee of military people. So I have been somewhat familiar to that energy, but I never thought that I was part of it until 2018, when I had my first regression and I started to have my most, let's say, conscious experience with these programs, and I started to remember. But not until 2020 is when I got the biggest amount of information so far on my experience and my participation on it.
So how long were you involved with the program?
What we need to understand about the program is that just because it's humans, theoretically, it's not a human, it's the dynamics there of how the program works are not human-based, are not human technology, of course, but they're not average, let's say, human-based in terms of consciousness also, not just technology. And what I mean with that is that they use higher dimensional technology that works in a multidimensional nature. So what I mean with that is that they can time travel, they can manipulate the fabric of space and time in a certain way, they can age regress people. So how they usually go with their abductees or the people that they recruit to this program is that they abduct them when they are about 5 years old approximately. They test them, they train them, they make them serve for about 20 years approximately, usually it's 20 years. And when they are done with the serving, when they have served about 20 years, they age regress them to the age that they were when they were taken. They wipe out their memories and they take them back to Earth. They put them back to Earth, to that specific moment in which they abduct them. So the abductee will live their life as if nothing ever happened to them. And they will never notice because there's no memories, to them until a certain point in their life. To only 1 or 2% of them, the amount of people are recruited so far that may actually remember, which are our whistleblowers so far out there. So that's how it works. You have to understand time and space from a multidimensional perspective in order to understand how these programs work. Because if not, it's really hard to get it, to catch it.
When you were invited into the program, how did that happen?
Well, it's not an invitation. It is mostly, it is negative in general. It's a negative experience because there is a lot of deep government connections with it. So it's rather an abduction, and it's rather like slavery, I will say, to most of us. It's service, and it's not fun, it's not vacation. And I don't have this specific knowledge as to what age I was, but I know that I was approximately 5 when I was recruited, approximately.
Okay, so with that happening, did you actually get age regressed back, and how long did you spend in the SSP?
Well, about 20 years, from 5 years old that I was.
Interesting.
Yes.
And did you have a specific duty?
Yes.
For that, and what was that duty?
Yes. Well, inside the program of the SSP, there are many different projects that are utilized specifically for the creation of what we have named before, which is the super soldiers, which is MK Ultra. Now, MK Ultra is a trauma-based project of mind control, in which through series of traumatic events and tortures, perform on the victim, they get to shatter the consciousness of that target into many different pieces, and through the use of LSD and different kind of mind-altering drugs and programming, they can create alter ego personalities, out of that victim, that then are utilized and trained for many specific various, let's say, tasks, So, for example, you can have an assassin alter, which is the delta specifically, which is, for example, mine. Usually everyone is in the every delta alter is in the psychopathic spectrum that I'm aware that mine at least is, for sure. And that alter has no emotion whatsoever, has no compassion. She has no morals whatsoever. She just responds to military to commands, to orders. She's able to kill. She's able to harm people, and she just does what she's asked for, what she's told. She is a psychopath, basically. And that's just an example. Another example is the beta sexual alter, which is an alter that is basically trained mostly for sexual affairs, to be a sexual slave. That alter is trained sexually to serve people in the program, and they basically sell you away to many different people. And there are many more, but that's a specific example of how the NQ Ultra projects relates to the SSP task, or let's say, to the specific tasks or career that roles that you're assigned. But furthermore, rather than just being a soldier, a psychic soldier, in my case, there is also many different things, many different fields, sciences being taught there, to us, like, medicine, genetics, physics, mathematics, for expanding, of course, the amount of technology that they possess. And my specific role, the specific career that they taught me, was physics. I work as a physicist and as an engineer. And of course, as an MK Ultra target, as a super soldier, I was trained, I was psychically trained, when I was a child. So to be able to use those abilities for, to spy on other people's agendas, to get off my body, to do a series of abilities and tasks that are really well utilized and of service of this program. So, like ET contact, they even use channeling and mediumship abilities to contact other beings, because they often ask, for help in regards to their technological affairs to other beings that are more advanced. And it's a pretty big program so far, and I have to say that they expanded so far in comparison with when they started in terms of technology, because usually they will sell us super soldiers, slaves, to other ET races, for many different purposes, mostly genetics, mostly when it comes to genetics, because human DNA is highly valuable for its hybrid nature, in exchange for technology. So either human slavery, psychic work, or genetics works for them to sell them to the ETs, and the ETs will give them technology, and that's how they expand, around the solar system.
From what I've learned about the SSP over the years, is that a lot of the soldiers that come through have parents who have spent time in the military or in the government. Have your parents done either?
My father was in the secret space program. He was not aware. He never remembered ever in his life, but I know he was there, because in one of my regressions, in my memories, I saw him. So that's how I was genetically connected to them.
Okay. And how were you able to find out that your father was part of this as well?
Mostly because in my regression sessions that I have had with certain specialized people in terms of hypnotherapy, I saw him, and as well as many of my experiences in there. I saw that he was there, and I'm not sure specifically how he served. I think he was also a super soldier, psychic, because he was really psychic here. When he will be on land, in my life, he will always express high level of intuition. He will know things before they happen. He will have like a sixth sense. So my guess is that he was also psychically trained, But I know he was part of that because I saw him in my regressions.
And yet he doesn't remember anything. Have you tried talking to him about it?
Unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He passed away just before I started having my own memories back. But he was obsessed with military topics, you can tell. He will be all the time, 24/7, looking at, documentaries about World War II, military. He will dress as a military person. It will be his obsession. So I could definitely tell, just from how he is here, that he was definitely getting, connected.
When you learned about your deceased father being a part of this, how did that change your outlook on everything?
It wasn't a surprising thing, to be honest, because usually there's many recruited people. It's not a few as people expect. It's just that most of them never remember. It's a few of them who actually do. So it wasn't like a life-changing thing. It wasn't like a surprising thing, but I didn't thought it was strange because he's so obsessed with military things that it makes sense. So
when did you realize that your service had come to an end? You're so young. There's a good. Is there an opportunity that it may happen again?
Well, that's the magic of the Secret Space program. That when I was discussing before, that to understand the Secret Space program, we have to do it through with a metaphysical perspective, with a quantum perspective of space and time. It's because otherwise you wouldn't get it. Theoretically, I'm 21, so I am still serving the program because I'm not over the amount of time that I supposedly spent there, when I was taken so far, which it will be approximately 27 years old. So as I'm 21, that timeline along is happening simultaneously. That's why I have conscious interactions in which I am taken and I see them, and sometimes I am being taught and I see myself being taught, physics, when supposedly I served already as a physicist, because it is all simultaneously happening at that moment.
That is so hard for many of us to try and comprehend regarding how that even happens. We've heard the stories of it before, but to actually be a part of it, what kind of clues were you able to find out regarding your own experiences? Did you meet others? Have you met others on this side that you knew of with the Secret Space program?
Yes, definitely. Many of the one of the easiest ways that one experiencer of the programs is to understand that they are to get memories, of our experiences out there. It's through dreams, because consciousness is multifaceted. It's all multidimensional. So oftentimes when we go to sleep, our astral body decides to see to experience, to see through the eyes of other aspects of itself. And many times it will be us on hybrid programs, us on contact experiences, us on different dimension, non-physical, non-material dimensions, and sometimes it will be our physical experiences in the secret space programs. So I have had many times in which I will have dreams, in which I will be there, and I will see many, not many, but some people that I've met here so far, in my life, which also showed an interest in ufology or the history of the secret space program, so it makes sense.
We have 3 minutes to go before we have to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. Marina Seren is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking secret space programs. Do you have any identifying marks or wounds or anything from the program like many super soldiers do?
Not that I'm aware of so far. I'm not sure. I know that I might have. I might have maybe an implant, because I've had a lot of marks. So maybe I have implants. I'm not sure, but I'm not aware of any marks so far.
Well, lucky you.
Yeah.
Lucky you. But
the mark that I have so far, it's a psychological mark, which is the trauma that I got from the MK Ultra, unfortunately, which I have to integrate for about now 5 years. I experienced extreme PTSD and sequels of it, such as OCD and other mental conditions, and I have to deal with them and integrate it. It's been a tough journey. So that's the kind of mark that I can tell that I have, at least for the program, a psychological one.
We're going to get more into the MK Ultra in my labs in the next half hour with you. But to wrap up the super soldier portion of this, do you expect to have this happen once again? Do you expect to go on another 20-year vacation that you will not remember?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It depends on whether they find me interesting again in terms of service. But as I'm already technically serving, simultaneously, there's no need to recruit me again, because I'm already being recruited. So in the future, it might be possible. Who knows?
What's it like to meet other super soldiers? How do you figure out that you have the same thing in common?
They're usually really psychic, and they're usually really interested in military topics. And they are usually they usually have a feeling of excitement towards experiences or activities of high adrenaline. For example, I love to take risk on activities. I love to participate in risky activities, such as, climbing on things like that, in which I have a lot of adrenaline release. And that actually doesn't make me feel scared. That makes me feel at home. It makes me feel excited. So that's our super soldier nature so far showing up.
Right.
Let's say.
We're going to have Marina Seren for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Then a little bit of change to the third hour, as we're going to bring in our friend Swamp Dweller to tell us a spooky story of the night. And then the fedora-wearing John Hudson will join us for an extended version of the Unbiased UFO Report. MarinaSeren.com is her website. This is one hell of an interesting show to kick off our new year on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. All right, I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. I'm going to put you on mute, and I'll be right back, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired their personal trainer as a caterer.
All right, folks, let's keep this line moving. You there with the tongs. Picking up one Duchess potato at a time will not cut it at my catering table. Drop and give me 50.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Okay, this is what we call the wild mushroom and asparagus dip, and press. Come on, let's get those plates above your heads.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Keeping your tech teams on top of the latest developments is a monumental challenge. Helping them get answers to the urgent problems they face daily is even harder. That's why over 60% of Fortune 100 companies count on the O'Reilly Learning Platform. At O'Reilly, your teams will get live online courses, tons of resources, truly interactive scenarios and sandboxes, and fast answers to their most pressing questions. See for yourself what O'Reilly can do for your teams. Visit O'Reilly.com for a demo.
All right. I am back. All right.
I was just reading the comments. People are really funny.
Yeah, they are interesting people sometimes. I love them.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Let's see. Was my chat room kind to you here?
Yes, they were. They're
right.
Really lovely. Don't worry.
Hi, Jerry O'Brien. How you doing, buddy? All right, good. Just had to make sure. Mark Ellens, how are you, man? Nice to see you. All right, guys. I want to just be clear on things with Las Vegas. We have some initial plans that we are going to be doing, and it is the festivities are going to kick off on Friday, the 22nd. And let me find the itinerary here that Lynn and I have written out. We're going to start off on Friday night at the Stratosphere Center Bar. We're going to hang out. We're all going to meet and greet and party it up right there at the Stratosphere. And then on Saturday, we're all going to meet for lunch at the Hard Rock Cafe. We're thinking of doing a live show with Lynn and myself, and we're going to give more details on that during the Saturday, and then we'll meet up at somewhere else, probably Planet Hollywood Extra Lounge, right in the middle of the bar, or right in the middle of the casino. And then on Sunday, if you're sticking around on Sunday, Gilly's Saloon Dance Hall and Barbecue. We're going to hang out, have some dinner, and just kind of plan the night that's going on there. We'll get more information to you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much tonight to Nicola, Larry, Ange, Jeff, John, Lori, Marty, Phil, Space Cow, and Cat Chaser for the Super Chats. Here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, Marina Seren is our guest. MarinaSeren.com is her website. This young lady is an experiencer of everything extraterrestrial, from contact right through to the secret space program. She is also someone who has had experiences with MyLabs and MK Ultra. For a lot of people, Marina, they don't know what the MyLab program is. Why don't you explain that to us?
Sure. Well, MyLab basically stands for military abduction. It's a mixing of words, of those two words. And basically, apart from that, MyLab, military abducting people, it's mostly focused on its main target. It's contactees, because they have that interest, on monitoring people that has been in contact with ETs or has had any out-of-this-world experience, multidimensional or even psychic experience. So they get an eye on them and they start monitoring them. And usually that's what they do. When you're a contactee, they take you into the ship, they scan your memories, or they analyze your consciousness to try to get as much information as possible. And they usually put you an implant to track you, to see what was the reason you were taken or what was your contact for. That's the general idea of a MyLab.
Okay. And how do they choose who gets taken into this MyLab program?
Well, those who are of their interests, as I said, specifically if you have been an ET contactee. So most of the times when you will be abducted, any person that has had an abduction experience, they will experience being also abducted by the military, because they want to monetize, ET contact, on Earth, so.
Okay, so how did you find out that you were being taken by military abduction?
It all started with my spiritual awakening in 2015-16 too. I remember that one of the first things that I will remember as a trauma, it's me as a child in a laboratory and surrounded by doctors who were human, who were performing really strange and disturbing things on me, and basically hurting me in my genitals and performing really weird things with really strange equipment. And that eventually opened up many more memories about these tortures, which are connected to the MK Ultra and my life experiences. And, when I started having these memories coming to the surface, I experienced PTSD. I was highly traumatized. I couldn't have a normal life. And I will be, alongside with my contact experiences, I will be having strange dreams of waking up on a room, on a ship that was not of ETs, but rather of military people that were working with Grace or reptilians. So I will see military people and I will see them talking to me, scanning me, or interacting with me. And yeah, that's how I realized that I was part of it.
Okay, so the fact that you were seeing military members around you, my lab experiences, from what I've heard from people who have had numerous dealings with them, is they aren't the most pleasant experiences for humans, that they do a lot of experimentation on you, a lot of mental threats with extraterrestrial species like reptilians. Did you have that happen to you?
Yes, but mostly when I was starting to speak up about my experiences in the SSP, they basically threatened me with death. They told me, well, at first they threatened me because I'm a light worker, I'm starseed, so I work, I do spiritual work. So at first they threatened me, saying that if I'll go that way, bad things around me will happen, quoting them. And the second threat I got, it's in regards to me speaking up about my experiences. They told me it was actually reptilians, the ones who threatened me. They told me that, along with military, they told me that if I will speak up about my experiences with pedophilia, I will, in the secret space program, I will be killed, or they will make me get sick. So.
Well, that's never very pleasant. That's never any pleasant. But, how many times have you been taken with the My Labs?
Well, I don't have any specific number, but I can tell you that lots of times, because they regularly check me, because I have a lot of affairs with multidimensional beings right now because of all the downloads of information that I'm getting from the history of humanity, and also about, metaphysical knowledge. So they're pretty interested usually in me. So really often they get me, they either put me to work for them as psychic work as a super soldier, or they rather get me to, scam me or oversees my process, because monarch targets, they have a mission, They certainly are trained for specific purposes. So they oversee us and make sure that we, do our duty.
How often have you been threatened about talking about this publicly?
Well, last year in summer, I was threatened about 5 or 7 times. Yes, they're threatening me for speaking out, replying to that question. And apart from those threats that I already explained, many times they will use dark psychology with me. For instance, as MQ Ultra is not a really cool thing to talk about, because the tortures is all about terrible things, terrible sexual, traumas and humiliation and super terrible things performed on you. It's not a pleasurable thing to talk about. It's not something cool, it's not something easy, So sometimes they use dark psychology, in which they get into my dreams and they show me how I will be interviewed by people about my MQ Ultra experiences, and I will be unable to speak up because it will make me feel really uncomfortable. So sometimes they threaten me that way, like, oh, you will never be able to speak about it, so shut up, It's really something not nice to speak about.
Right. So, will you get in trouble for even being on this show?
Yes and no. They don't threaten me as much, but in general, they mostly threaten me also if I am evolving. That's what they're most scared of. Spiritual consciousness evolution.
So how did this turn into MK Ultra, and explain to people what MK Ultra is all about?
Well, again, one of my first negative experiences, recalls of this kind of programs is when I was 15, 16, when I was starting my awakening, my Kundalini spiritual awakening, my ET contact experiences. And what I remember, as I said, is this series of events in which I was seeing me as a child. It was a really specific photographic memory that came to me so real, like so real. It was not questionable by my consciousness. It was a memory, and I knew it 100% because how you experience it is like, oh, okay, this happened, and you're like, no, this happened. Now I remember. And so I saw myself again in a laboratory room as a child, and I saw these beings performing really terrific things on my genitals, and I saw myself screaming, I saw myself crying, and there are a lot of symbols, there are a lot of images, like demonic and disturbing images along with that, but they're of a psychological nature, because again, these programs, MK Ultra, is psychological. They use physical torture, physical harm, but not as much as in the past. MK Ultra programs have evolved so far. So now that they know about the nature of consciousness, now that they know how to infiltrate themselves in consciousness, in the psyche of a person, mostly through LSD and mind-altering drugs, they can use hallucinations to make you actually be tortured without even touching you. So sometimes you will have, experiences or traumas of things being done to you that are not true. The things performing my genitals with, medical equipment, that is true, but certain other images will not be true. That's just part of the dark psychology of the psychological torture, let's say. And so that was my first memory recall. I had to deal with PTSD to integrate it. I will disassociate many times and go crazy, lose my identity. And I will start researching about it, like mind control. Why? This makes sense that this is mind control. And everything makes sense. And when I realized that I was part of these mind control experiments, I went to talk to a specialist in hypnotherapy sessions, in regression sessions. And she will regress me, and I will get a lot of information about this, as well as other. I will work with theirs, hypnotherapy specialists, and in total, I will have gained memories not only of that specific torture experience, but many, because it's not just one single event of torture, of trauma. It's a series, of traumatic rituals, because they use something called satanic ritual abuse along with it. It's all part of the MK Ultra project. So it's not one single experience, it's many single experiences. So I will keep remembering more and more, with many different specialists, and not just with the specialists. Actually, one of my latest regressions were performed by ETs. And so this happened because I was interested to integrate my alters. I wanted to do that work. And so I didn't have them at the moment, the money for, paying a session. So one day I will go to bed and I will fall asleep. But instead of going into the dream state, instead of really falling asleep, I will actually get sleep paralysis. I will get paralyzed in my bed, and I was pretty conscious. And I felt the presence of extraterrestrial consciousness in my room that were observing me. And what they did is that they proceeded to put me into a state of trance, and I was actually repressed. I was going back to when I was a child in the programs, and I will start narrating all of these different series of events. And that's another way that I will get the information, not just with humans working with me, but actually also ETs, putting me into states of trance.
I have a question from Kaiju here, who is asking, what do the ETs think about you being in the secret space program, and do they trust the military?
Well, the ETs are highly advanced consciousness, so they see it from a higher perspective as an experience or opportunity to grow spiritually. So they absolutely do not judge you because you have been part of it, or because you have worked for them, because they see it as an experience, just other kind of polarity experience on Earth. So, and no, they usually do not trust the military because they are connected to they're mostly, the dark governments, the dark elites that are ruling the world right now for a, new world order agenda, satanic agenda. So, no, they don't, but they are not going to exclude you just because you have been part of these programs or because you're targeted. That will be pretty judgmental, that will be a discrimination. So, no, they don't.
All right. Cat Chaser would like to know if you could explain your magic experience. What happened?
No, I didn't have any magic experience, so I'm not sure what that question is about.
All right. We will move on. Mr. Catfish, who are the 5-foot light grays? Where do they come from?
The 5-foot light rays, they are us from the futures. They are the ones that I was talking about before, that were the negative version of us that evolved into disconnecting from their human nature and destroy their own version of Earth. And some of them can actually also be from Zeta Reticuli and from the Orion constellation, which are the ones who actually integrated that darkness and didn't become extinct with the help of other beings or geneticists. And they continue their way, but just in different star systems.
Okay, so those alien grays that are from the future, how do we know they are the future us when we don't even know what we are? We can only imagine us being us and what we look like 2, 3, 4, 500 years down the road.
Well, they communicated this to hundreds of channels around the world, mostly those who are part of course, of the hybrid agenda so far. So it's not like somebody's hypothesis. It's like contrasted information from all around the world.
All right, let's get to another question here. Lala wants to know, are Rh negative bloodlines hybrid people?
Calling all partners. Losing weight is better together with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. In fact, people who diet together lose 20% more weight than dieting on their own. Get new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. They're big and filling and taste delicious. Plus, try our new restaurant faves that taste like your favorite restaurant, portioned with half the calories. Don't wait. You could win big cash during Nutrisystem's Better Together Partner Plan $100K giveaway. And maybe win the grand prize of $25,000. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off your first month. You heard me right. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Don't wait. This partner plan offer will not last long. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin.
See website for details on our 2-month subscription offer. No purchase necessary. Open only to U.S. residents over 21. Void where prohibited. Runs December 25 through April 4th, 2022. For official rules, visit Nutrisystem.com. Sponsored by Nutrisystem, Inc.
Well, we are all hybrid people technically, but it's true that those bloodlines with Rh negative blood type are the ones that exhale a higher percentage of extraterrestrial genetics.
Right. Okay, so with that...
And just as a side note, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just as a side note, you do not have to be Rh negative yourself to be considered part of an ET or a hybrid lineage. It can be your father, it can be your mother, it can be your grandfather, or even grandfather. It can be distant. As long as it is in your genotype, even if it has not been expressed in your phenotype, it is there. So it's a sign, let's say.
Okay. Are you Rh negative?
My father is. I'm not.
Okay. What kind of blood do you have, if you don't mind saying?
B positive.
I'm trying to be positive.
Yes.
No, I'm teasing. That was
it has
horrible.
a message.
That was horrible. I'm O positive. I can give to everybody, but nobody can give to me. It's a yeah.
The altruistic.
All right. Spaghetti wants to know: have you tried hypnoregression? If not, how do you have such a great recall memory?
Yes. Well, I already explained how I got most of my recalls and memories through hypnotherapy regressions.
Have you been to hypnotherapy?
Yes.
Did it work for you?
Yes.
I can tell you, when I went for hypnotherapy, try and find out, I immediately, about 10 minutes in, as they were putting me under, literally, I heard these voices in my head saying, "Nope, not today, Dave. We're not letting them in. Don't even bother." And literally, all of a sudden, I sprung up, opened my eyes, and my hypnotherapist is like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "You're not getting in. They don't want you." It was interesting. All right, Phil would like to know, when examinations were performed, was it during your monthly cycle, or did it matter? Asking if they are harvesting your DNA.
Well, surely it was when I was in my fertile days, because they want that fertility. So yeah, it was not on period, It was when you are fertile.
Tracy would like to know, has it been painful? Did they sedate you when they were putting you under?
No. Another thing to understand about abductions, it's said, of course, as the SSP, they use multidimensional higher technology. What it means is that they work with holograms, with fractals of your consciousness. Because reality is a hologram. Reality is not material, in a sense. It's not a crystalline, tangible thing. So it is vibration, basically. So that technology work with holographic fractals of your consciousness. And what I mean with this is that they can actually abduct the holographic spectrum or structure of your physical consciousness without your physical body actually being placed up there or moving it from there. Now, many times they will abduct your physical body too, depending on what they need specifically, depending on their limits or boundaries. But many times you will even experience it as a dream or as an astral experience in which you're conscious. You feel that you're being touched, you feel that it is a real thing, but you are not there fully, because they abduct the holographic fractal expression of your physical consciousness, which is also you, so.
Right. Okay. Let's get to another question here. This one comes from, where is it here? Phil, who is asking, do you experience lucid dreaming?
Yes, a lot. Many times lucid dreaming, it's you interacting consciously with other ETs, with other multidimensional beings for various purposes, and it's like a mixture, let's say a different kind of harmonics between your physical mind, your subconscious, and your astral body, how they synchronize, how they all harmonize with each other, makes you more probable to experience this level of lucidity, awareness.
Marina, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio, telling us your story and your information. What a treat it was to have you on the show, and thank you for getting up way early in Madrid, Spain, to share your encounters and stories with us here on Spaced Out Radio.
Well, thank you so much, Dave, for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to come to your show. to share all my story with you. I'm really glad. Thank you.
All right, coming up next, we head to the swamp. Swamp Dweller's got a story for us of the Unbiased UFO Report. The extendo version is next on Spaced Out Radio. Great show. Great show.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. And thank you to you listeners, too, for being part of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty fun. They're pretty fun.
Yes, yeah.
You know? So I appreciate you getting up early for us, and good luck with finding out more information about your own situation. I look forward to hearing more of it in the future.
I'll be really glad, to inform as much people as possible. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I will let you go, and I got to prepare here for my next half hour. So thank you very much for coming on the show, Marina. And we want to remind our audience, marinaseren.com. That's I'll type it into the chat room, so that way they can stay in touch with you. And much appreciate you. And you take care, okay?
Likewise.
All right, take care. Good night.
Take care. Good night.
I like her. She's a nice lady. Nice lady. I think she has a lot of information that she's just tapping into. It's easy to shoot down people like that, but when you remember that she's only 21 and this information is coming very, very quickly to her, it's going to be pretty amazing to see what happens. Hello there, Dim. How are you? Spooky, you didn't return my message on Facebook. If you could do that. Let me get ready here, because I got to get this going. This going. I'll move that over for this. All right, so Las Vegas, are you guys ready? Pretty soon we are going to put it up on our website, the itinerary for Las Vegas. And what I'm expecting from all of you who are planning on coming, hi, Miss Dill Pickles, how are you? What I'm expecting from all of you who are going to be coming to the Vegas party, the weekend party, is we'll be giving you an email that we want you to RSVP. The first 50 people who say, yes, we are 100% coming, I am going to make up a swag bag for you as a thank you for coming to join us in Vegas. So that will be it. We're going to have a couple of nights of get-togethers and partying, and it's all about fun, people. We are looking at doing one live show, and what we may do there is, hold on one second here, trying to do too much at once. What we're going to do there is I'm going to invite a bunch of friends down for the get-together, and we're thinking about doing a live show for the event where Lynn and I will be on stage. I think the guys from UFO Garage are going to join us, and we're going to bring some guests up from in and around Vegas that we're going to pretty much interview for 3 hours. We're going to do a live show on YouTube. If you are going to Vegas and you want to attend that, that one is going to be your choice, because I know everybody's going to be budgeted, but we will be having a specific tickets for that I believe we're looking at $25 for that. We just got to find an event on where to set it on up, but that's the only thing that we are going to be saying, hey, you know what? If you want to take part in this, that's what we need to do. So we're going to get you more information about that. I will ask our Keith Andrews if he'll come down, Teresa. I will. I'm not sure if he'll be able to afford it, but I will ask him. And so we're going to have like a 3-hour live show. That's what we're going to do. and you guys are more than willing to come on in and sit with us and join us. But it's getting real. 4 months away, and we want to make sure that all of you are going to be there and having a good time with us. So hopefully within the next week we'll get it up on our website with the email. Confirm with us that you are coming to Vegas, and then we will be able to make sure that we get a swag bag for you, and you'll get a special email from us saying, okay, this is what we need from you, and we'll give you an itinerary of what is going on. The itinerary will also be on the website as well, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I also want to remind you guys that, don't forget, Lynn Wallington, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours on Saturdays and Sundays. You definitely want to check out her show, along with the after-hours show afterwards with John, with Big Willie and Gemma Jade, so make sure you take a look at that. And yeah, we're all preparing for a big year here on SOR here in 2022, and the date is firm, Mennonite Abe. The only thing that can change the date for us is if we end up, going through another BS lockdown that really causes us to have to change the dates. So I don't see that happening right now, but we're gonna make sure that we're gonna go, and we're gonna go hard, people, very hard. So it's gonna be the weekend to remember. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obliescence. Obliescence is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We have a new feature here on Spaced Out Radio that we call Swamped. Our resident swamp dweller comes in nightly, taking us down the dark road in a segment we call The Swamp.
I'm a 32-year-old man from Anchor.
Why didn't that work? Let's try that again.
I'm a 32-year-old man from and currently living in Cumberland County, New Jersey, which puts me about 45 minutes away from Philadelphia and 45 minutes away from the Atlantic Ocean, while at the same time only being about 15 minutes away from Delaware Bay. After high school, I went into the Army as an intelligence analyst for a while, and then when I got out, I moved to New York City and worked as a project manager for a construction company, until I met my wife and decided to move back to New Jersey to be closer to our family, since she was pregnant with our daughter. That is just a little bit of background on me. So this all happened in October of 2018. It was 11:45 at night, and I decided to go on my front steps to take a smoke break. Usually, if I can't sleep, this is what I'll do. Everybody else in the house was already fast asleep. It was a clear night without many clouds in the sky, but there was some fog on the ground. As I was smoking, I was looking at the fog, and to me, it looked like there was movement in it. I know it sounds crazy, but it was almost like there was an invisible camouflaged thing or something out there that I wouldn't be able to see if it wasn't for the fog hanging on the ground. As I was looking at the fog, I noticed this white truck that had driven by at least 2 times at this point. I could hear a woman and a man yelling at each other when the truck stops at the stop sign in front of my house. The woman gets out screaming, and the man slams the door as he pulls off fast, then proceeds to walk into the woods across the street from me, which is weird, because there isn't anything back there except for blue holes until you hit the bay. If I walk out of my front door and just keep walking straight, there won't be any houses or civilization at all, only trees and artificial lakes, also known as blue holes, left over from sand plants until you hit the Delaware Bay. So, at this point it's been about 5 minutes since the woman walked into the woods, when things started going from weird to unbelievably scary. What happens next is the strangest and most reality-shattering thing that has ever happened to me. I'm still looking at the movement that I'm seeing in the fog when I hear this very loud noise come from the woods that sounded like metal being ripped apart. There really is not a good example I can give for the sound, because it was so unearthly. I'm sure it wasn't a natural sound. The sound lasted for a good 10 to 15 seconds, then abruptly stopped and was replaced with a different sound, which I can feel more than I could hear. Imagine being aware that there's a huge sound happening by you, but it's out of frequency, and your ears can barely hear it. That's the best way I can describe it. The sound is constant through the rest of this experience. This is the point where I'll probably lose some people, and I'm aware of how crazy this all sounds. But as I'm getting adjusted to the sound, it feels like something reaches out to me mentally in my own head, but does so without words and only conveys a feeling of calm and a heads up for some sort of warning for something is about to happen. It kind of felt like whatever it was feeling me out to see how I would react. Honestly, I have no idea how to explain what I was currently experiencing. It was similar to like a security check, I guess. As I was having this feeling of calm conveyed to me, I noticed a light in the sky that seemed to have risen out of the woods. I would say about 5 or 6 miles away from me. At this point, it's only a ball of light in the distance, but I just knew that it was coming straight towards me, although it wasn't moving very fast. Right after I noticed the light in the sky is when I start to feel really freaked out, more than I have ever been in my entire life. In the woods across the street from me, which is no more than 50 yards away, all of these orbs of light start to appear. I could see some which seemed to flicker into existence. These orbs were all white. They were very bright and didn't light up the area around them though. It was what you would expect from flashlights. There were probably about 12 to 16 of them, which moved in a totally smooth manner. Besides the trail to get into the woods, the area is so dense and invested with the stickers, thorn bushes, and stuff like that, it simply wouldn't be possible for humans to walk and move with their lights like this, let alone do it completely smooth. I am incredibly positive that they were not people with flashlights because of the area and the characteristic of the light orbs themselves. So, I'm just watching the orbs move around for about a minute or so, trying to make sense of what is going on. I look back up to the sky to find a craft coming practically right towards me, with only probably 1,000 yards between us at this point. So I'm going back and forth looking at the orbs on the ground, and the craft, which I start to make out better. It was flying very low. I'd say it was only about 3.5 to 4 stories off the ground. I see the path it's taking, and see it's going to pass right in front of me at an angle, which I'll be able to see underneath the craft and the side of it at the same time. The craft was a single-story dull black rectangle. I could see underneath the craft and saw that the rectangle was made up of 3 smaller rectangular panels that fit together from a larger rectangle. I clearly saw that the craft was made up of 3 panels. The size is harder to estimate, but I would say it was about 35 yards long and maybe 20 yards across. Underneath, there were lights in a flashing pattern that would cycle through and cycle back the other way. In the moment, I thought that the craft was signaling to the orbs on the ground. But it didn't make any sound at all, and all I was hearing was this very faint humming noise that I felt more than I heard. While it was in front of me, it was moving really slow to the point that I don't think a plane with a normal propulsion system could even stay in the air at that speed. I take my eyes off the craft for literally a second. I look back down towards the oars which are still moving around. They were almost going in a straight line, one by one, in front of me across the street. I only took my eyes off the craft for a moment when I looked up at the orbs, but when I looked back at the craft, it was gone. For whatever reason, when I saw the craft just vanish like that, the reality of what I was seeing really hit home, and I got scared, to be honest with you, since my daughter, wife, and mom were all no more than 50 feet away from me inside, with all this craziness going on. I went inside and locked the doors. I just felt like I'd be willing to investigate more if it was just my life I was playing with, but I wasn't willing to take that chance with my family's life. I could only have just been paranoid at this point, but I felt like I was being watched for the next 2 hours. I didn't have any lost time from this event, and the entire thing happened only over a period of 20 to 30 minutes. Looking back on the event...
Hey, which glasses look better on me?
Oh, what's this?
Zenny's 3D virtual try-on. Pretty cool, right?
I don't know about the purple cat eyes.
I think they're fun. What about these tortoiseshell glasses? Or these rimless sunglasses? Oh, what about these clear frames?
Wait, are those prices real? Do they have glasses for men?
Yep. They also have affordable blue light glasses.
Seriously? At those prices? Get them all.
I like where this is going.
Zenni.com. Quality prescription glasses starting at $6.95.
And now, I question what exactly was going on with the white truck and the woman who walked into the woods at the beginning of the story. I've also done some research and found out that there are a good number of reports of people seeing a glimmer man in the woods, which makes me think of the movement I was seeing in the fog. Where I live is very active for UFO phenomenon, which makes sense if something like this wanted to access major cities like Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, and DC. What could possibly be a better hiding place than to hide in an almost inaccessible 1,000-foot deep lake in the middle of the woods?
All right, we say thank you to the big swamp dweller for that. And on the YouTube side, I know we had some audio issues there, but I had to keep playing it because it was playing fine on our podcast, and I will try and get that figured out for tomorrow night's show. I do apologize for the dead air there, but the good news is it is time once again for an early and new edition of the Unbiased UFO Report. Let's bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson. And a big thank you to Mr. John Fedora Hudson, otherwise known as UFO's version of Barry Gibb, coming on in here to talk about the latest and greatest in the UFO world. Happy New Year, John. How you doing, man?
Happy New Year to you too, sir. And sorry, I'm just about to say my list here, but hold on 1 second here. I'll send it to you in 1 second here. But Happy New Year to you, well, and I'm glad you guys are doing well. And wow, was that one hell of a show?
It was interesting, very interesting. I mean, it's just, it's hard to dismiss, it's easy to dismiss, John, someone who has experiences like our guest tonight did. But it's another thing to kind of be aware that we haven't stepped in her shoes. We haven't stood in her shoes to know what is going on. And it's a tough one to swallow.
Dave, even to be in her situation, let's completely remove any consideration of the reality of any of it. But just to be a person, a human, who believes in reality that everything that was happening to you, imagine how most people would handle it. She handled it very, very well.
Add to the fact that she's only 21. That's what scares me about her story, is that she's only 21, and this is something that I don't know if I would be ready at 21 for something like this.
Dave, I don't know if I agree, man. She said one thing that really caught my attention, and that was she used the term "old soul," and there are a lot of us in the world that have been labeled that way, and I used to get labeled that way so often that I finally got frustrated and angry about it. And I would start challenging people. I would challenge strangers, like, what do you mean? Explain this to me, right? Like I got kind of nasty about it because I got so irritated by it. And it happens to a lot of us, right? Now, does that really mean anything? Who knows? But what it typically correlates to is a type of demeanor and a type of presence and a type of vocabulary and a type of native awareness and comfort in their own skin. And now, is that some sign of something otherworldly? I have no idea. Could it just be a common personality type that crosses a lot of us? I couldn't tell you, but I can say that, hell, Dave, when I was 17 or 18, I was flown to New York to speak at the World Forum on drug control. So, you can see how, this stuff works out. So it's kind of crazy how this stuff plays out. But yeah, young people do have a brilliant amount of intelligence. And for me personally, like many of the crazy hypotheses that I had when I was, in my late teens and 20s, it's the ones that I didn't tell anyone about that came true. Right? I mean, it's like, and like you find you're often in the end more right than wrong. And so, so it's not to say that the ideas she has now are going to be vastly different when she's 40. She's just going to hone them. She's just going to refine them. She's going to throw out the ones that didn't work out. She's going to keep the ones that did. She's going to add to it. She's going to get more depth and so forth. But many of the core ideas that many of us have that we end up, pursuing through life are actually ideas that came to us when we were in our teens and 20s.
I hear you there. I just don't know. It's one thing to prepare for life on Earth, but when you have to deal with a lot of these programs, and we don't, and look, a lot of these programs, we don't know if the ETs have put them in our heads or whether or not they've been put into our heads by other programs, but this young lady has gone through a lot. Well, but here's the question you have to ask, right? Because everything has to be based on motivation and predicted outcome, and that would be that, like, if I was going to insert anything into someone's memory, I wouldn't insert that. My Lord, it's like, what kind of a horrible nightmare are you possibly trying to inflict on these people? I would insert happy dancing rainbows and sugar canes and all that kind of thing. Like why would you do that? Well, one, either you're not masking it and there's reality to it, or two, I hate to even go here, but the reality is worse. And this was a better answer, right? So, there's a lot of risk to how that stuff plays out. Holy cow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And, sorry, I'm a little, Dan W. Wow. Thank you. Whew. Little caught off breath there for a quick second. John, what do you got for us for the Unbiased UFO Report as we take the turn into the brand new year? There's a lot of really cool stories that may be coming up here very, very soon, my friend.
Yes, and I just finally sent you a list of things, and honestly, it was difficult because to a certain degree, things did slow down a little bit, right? And rightly so. Hopefully people are enjoying their holidays and so forth, right? But yeah, boy, there are some pretty crazy stories tracking, and a lot of them are young enough that you don't really know how much effort you should get into it. So I did my best to pick what I hoped was interesting, and if I'm wrong, I'll cover the other things later this week. The first thing that I just I think most people aren't really reading as much into as they should is this change with the House senior member of the Intelligence Service Committee. Basically, Devin Nunes is stepping down. He is stepping down from government. He is becoming CEO of Trump's new media empire. And so he will no longer be in that role. And so a new gentleman named U.S. Representative Mike Turner has, and I can read this to you if you want.
Please do.
U.S. Mike Turner's U.S. Mike Returner's appointment as ranking member of House Parliament Select Committee on Intelligence gives the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and its key mission, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, or NASIC, a stronger advocate in Congress, the representative said. So, Mr. Mike Turner is a representative for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. How convenient. He goes on to say that this places me in the top 8 out of 535 members of both the Senate and the House for security clearances. The Daytona Republican continued to say that this gives me access to both agencies and information that could help me in my advocacy for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Hold on a second here. It is amazing that it's Wright-Pat. Because in UFO history, Wright-Patterson has played a massive role in what we believe happened with a lot of crashed retrievals from Roswell to Kecksburg, as well as others.
Keisha
chasing down, the aliens in the building. I mean, look, I don't know how big Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is. I've never been there, but I do know this, that it is one of the most top secret Air Force bases in the United States and in the world. It's almost as secretive, even though it's well known, as what they do at Area 51. So the fact that they are going to be shifting this program over to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base makes a lot of sense.
Well, it doesn't mean that any program is being shifted. All it means is that basically now a very senior level person in the Gang of 8, essentially, before the person who held this role was a representative from California. Now, we have a ton of military in California. People don't realize that. And that's the reason why we often have military leadership coming out of California, because of the amount of stuff that gets made here, right? But he's the one stepping down. The guy that's taking his place just happens to be the representative for the region of the country,
of course,
that where Wright-Patterson Air Force Base sits, right? So this now becomes an interesting thing, because from one point of view, you could see this as, well, wait a second. If this guy's a Gang of 8 and there are people that that basically don't want disclosure to happen, do they now have an inside member that's going to gum things up for us, right? Or is it the flip side, right? Is it the flip side that we now have someone in Congress who is an advocate for disclosure at some level, who happens to also have a relationship with Wright-Patterson, and therefore in this role can exert influence or at least negotiate, relationships with them that might help with disclosure? No way to know, but we now have a player in play that could have a very positive or a negative impact, much more so than his predecessor.
That's very conspiratorial to think of, John. Very much not like you. Not like I'm actually quite impressed with this. And, I mean, for people who may not know who this group of 8 is, explain the knowledge behind this group of 8.
Okay, so basically, the Gang of 8, or they'll have different names. It's basically the 8 members of both the House and the Senate. So of all of Congress, these are the 8 members of both houses who hold the top positions for all the military leadership roles in Congress. And so as a result, they all have the top level clearance available for someone in Congress. They all essentially have, at least whoever leads the chairman of the group of 8 has, definitely. And you could argue all members have essentially blanket access to anything they want. At least that's what I've been told. I honestly, I have tremendous trouble believing that. But I have been told that on very good authority by multiple people in positions that would know that they have the power. Now, where people get out of it is that they have to know what to ask for, right? And that's where this whole plausible deniability, don't say what you don't know sort of thing comes into it. Because if they can keep the keyword from ever being found out, then the Gang of Eight can't ask about it either, because they don't know the right keyword, right? So it doesn't mean that it's keeping people, all out, but you can see how it plays out. Yeah. And the Gang of Eight is basically the most powerful unit within Congress that handles all this military stuff.
John, let's continue this talk as we continue with the unbiased UFO report when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Very interesting indeed. What kind of turn of events could this bring to UFOs and the news that we expected out? We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio and the fedora-wearing John Hudson right after this. All right, we're clear. Wow. That's a big
Joe, what
news.
I meant, what I probably would have been more correct to say was that they have the top level clearance for members within Congress. I don't mean to say that they have any higher clearance than anyone else anywhere else. I'm just saying that within the confines of Congress, the Gang of Eight are the ones that hold the largest number of tickets, shall we say.
That's still amazing.
And not everyone in the Gang of Eight is equal necessarily, right? They all have different roles.
Right. But either way, John, I mean, it really seems like, you know what? I'm going to hold off on this thought until we get back.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and the thing is that there's a lot of practical and impractical explanations. So you can go a lot of different ways with it.
I want to remind our listeners that April 22nd to 24th, pending everything is still open with the borders, that we are planning our first annual SOR Vegas party in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we'd love it if all of you could come down and join us. The night starts off. Let me go through the festivities here. Night number 1, we are going to meet at the Stratosphere Center Bar, and we're going to party it up there. Wherever the night takes us, that's where we go. Saturday, we're all going to meet for lunch, 1 o'clock at the Hard Rock Cafe. And then we are looking at doing a live show with Lynn Wallington, myself, and the guys from UFO Garage. And we are going to look at booking a banquet room. We don't know where yet. We're still figuring that out. Had to wait until everybody gets back to work. But we're thinking about doing that. And if you want to attend that, that will be $25 a ticket. And then that night, we are going to meet right after the show. We are going to meet at the Planet Hollywood Extra Lounge to continue our festivities and photographs and whatever else comes to mind. And then for those who are staying till Monday at 5 p.m. on Sunday, we are going to meet at Gilly's Saloon, Dance Hall, and Barbecue at Treasure Island to continue the final night and kind of let the night take us wherever it takes us. It is going to be a great weekend of festivities down in Las Vegas. You got a lot of free time to do what you guys want to do. We got a lot of free time to do what we need to do. Example, Dave plans on playing in a poker tournament or two. And, we're going to have some fun with all of you.
And there are those of us that have been to Vegas more often than others who will hopefully identify ourselves so that we can be, kind of guides and help people out as far as like things to do and so forth. Because if you're at all local, it's amazing what you can learn about that place.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic city. Fantastic city. So, that is our schedule for April 22nd to 24th. So make sure you put that on your calendar. The first 50 people who confirm that they will be going to Las Vegas to our SOR party, we're going to give you an email. You're going to have to check our website. We'll let you know when it's up. You confirm via the email that, yes, you are going to the Vegas party, and we will be able to literally bring a swag bag down for you. And you know what? That's what we want to do. So during the downtime when we're not together, if you want to drive out to Area 51, or if you want to go shoot some guns at the gun store, or check out Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum, go for it. It's a free weekend.
That's a good idea.
We are all hanging out and having some fun. And that's what it's all about. If we want to go UFO spotting in the desert, let's drive out to the desert. We could do it. And we're, like I said, it's all about fun. It's all about having a good time. There's no rules. There's no anything that you want to do. We're just providing you where we're going to be, and you guys can come join us, hang out, grab some pictures. I'm going to invite over some guests that I know who live in Las Vegas, and I know some in California who are going to join us as well, and we're going to be having a blast. So make sure you join us April 22nd to 24th in Las Vegas. And I want to say a big thank you to Nicola, Larry, Angie, Jeff, John, Lori, Marty, Phil, Space Cow, Cat Chaser ×2, and the amazing super chat by Dan W. Thank you so much for the love that you guys have of Spaced Out Radio. It really helps us out a lot doing what we do on a nightly basis. So we're going to continue on here with the Unbiased UFO Report with John Hudson. Stay tuned. Here we go, everyone. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Unbiased UFO Report, extended version that's starting tonight, and we appreciate John Hudson coming on in for this. John, right before the break, you were telling us about this group of 8 that really control the military bases and what goes on. One of the big questions that I had, when over the last couple of weeks when we've seen the battle between the Pentagon and the elected officials regarding UFOs and how they're going to be studied, the one thing that I noticed was that the Pentagon really didn't appreciate the elected officials wanting updates and to try and keep this story quite private. Are we going to see more privacy due to this move?
Well, I think we're going to see...
At O'Reilly, we know your tech teams need quick answers to their most urgent questions. They need to stay on top of new tech developments. They need a safe place to learn the technologies your company adopts. And they need it all 24/7. Well, they can get it all at O'Reilly.com. With the O'Reilly Learning Platform, your team gets live online courses, tons of resources, safe interactive scenarios and sandboxes, and fast answers to their most pressing questions. Visit O'Reilly.com and request a demo.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Wait a minute. I've heard that before. That's the note Jeremy wrote to me in my yearbook in the 6th grade. How'd you even know that?
Because it's from Geico.
Yeah, wait, here it is. Dear Luke, have a great summer. P.S. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Love, Jeremy.
Geico's had this tagline for years, because we help save people money.
So wait, you're saying Jeremy copied you? Yeah, that actually does sound like something the J-Man would do.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I don't think we should ever... Well, that's not true. I think it's unlikely we should ever expect the government to become overly aggressive about sharing information. I think it's always going to be a tug of war. They're always going to be pushing back. They're always... Because, essentially for them, data is, essentially, currency for them,
Very true.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to say how they would play it out. Yeah.
All right, let's move on here because obviously last week we learned about the passing of former Nevada Senator Harry Reid, which was a shock to many of us, and we ended up doing a show on the legendary Harry Reid and his role in ufology and being a big believer in the phenomena that is going on. You know, is there any more news coming out of the circuit of Harry Reid regarding UFOs?
Well, what's coming out, and because like for me, and I think there's other people like me in this position. A lot of us really weren't sure how this was going to play out because, if it could be that essentially, as everyone talks about Reid's legacy, all the UFO stuff gets cut out of it because they don't want to tarnish his reputation. Instead, what's happening is the opposite. You're seeing follow-up articles being written about Reid and about the UFO topic, and being done in very positive light and in very optimistic light. And you even have a case of the nice op-ed that Reid did in June being respun up and resent out as kind of a way of people kind of doubling down, saying, look, this is what Reid said, and I'll include it in my notes, and I it's not long. I really encourage everyone to read it. It's a very interesting snapshot of what Reid was willing to commit to publicly, but more importantly, what you see is you're seeing a kind of a doubling down, I would argue, in a way, with this topic and Reid. And I'll be honest, personally, not what I was expecting. I was honestly expecting most of the UFO talk around Reid to be heavily suppressed after his death because they want everyone to just focus on all the other things he did. Because I mean, the guy had a huge lifetime in government.
Very huge lifetime. And, his best friend, reporter for KLAS Channel 8 TV, George Knapp, is, obviously, very disturbed by the passing of Harry Reid, although not unexpected. Still, it always hurts when somebody you care for over a number of years and have worked with a number of years, passes away. Has George Knapp said anything regarding this?
George Knapp was kind enough to make a statement to Spaced Out Radio. He was kind enough to make a statement to a couple other people. He's been staying pretty mellow. He's been staying pretty, for the most part, Knapp's not a terribly, he's a proper Vegas gentleman. He plays it pretty close to the chest in general. But he's he's definitely he's definitely feeling it. I mean, and he gave you a really nice statement, and I think that ultimately, not to get too negative on the topic, but ultimately we should all be trying to see this through George's eyes, because it's always through a friend that loss is felt most, and so we can look at him as a senator, we can look at him as a spokesperson, or as a freedom fighter for disclosure and so forth. But at the end of it, he was important to a lot of people. With that said, I think that it's important for us to kind of, how should we say? No, I would just say it, take advantage of the fact that this is playing out this way, and essentially, we should all be forwarding this material around. We should all be sharing this information with others. This is all very steak and potatoes material that can be consumed by a very, very large audience, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff to help people, help people get an idea of what's going on.
Very true, very true. And finally tonight, you have an update on the bill.
I wish, essentially, there's no real new news about it. I'm assuming everything's moving through properly, but yeah, I wish there was more information on it, but essentially, everyone's still very excited about it. It's still very, it's still coming to pass. There is some speculation that the ribbon cutting ceremony that was done the other day for the Space Force might somehow dovetail in some way to what's going on. That somehow there might be some sympathetic office that gets stood up within that organization that would work as a counterpart to whatever Congress puts up. I read an article where someone was speculating on that. I didn't really consider it to be solid enough to really kind of report on heavily, but there's definitely talk about that. And so, ultimately, in many ways, no news is good news, because we're not hearing any kind of pushback. But I think now what we really have is we have the rubber hits the road phase, where now it's been signed and everyone's got to figure out, okay, well, what do we do? And that's why we're so lucky that Senator Gillibrand basically did such a great job writing that verbiage, in that a lot of it, at least in my limited opinion, is stuff that I could take and I could just, you could just go right to work. It was all very well flushed out.
Very true. And the big thing is we have to give it time to see how everything plays out right now. We have no choice. There's a lot of politics that is going to be played with this, and I don't think we've seen the end between the government versus the Pentagon on how this subject is going to be covered, and the reports are going to be taken.
Yeah, the individual, whoever this poor soul is, who gets put in charge of this organization, man or woman, they will not even know how well this is going to go for at least another 4 months. Right, because no one's going to know until they actually get the insider view of how they're going to get treated by everyone else.
No, but that's what I'm saying is this is going to be the proverbial political tug of war with whoever has that position.
Oh yes, yes. And you could end up seeing some, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Either the position will be fought over, or or they'll try to kneecap it. But it's one of the reasons why the bill was so carefully written, was that they tried really hard to plug every single hole and crack and fissure they could find, and it was obviously done by someone who understands how the government works and understands that you have to you have to have the premeditated defensive mechanisms for certain things that are common.
Well, I hope for the sake of anything else, man, that we end up seeing, some sort of transparency on this. I'm not confident in that, John. I want to be confident, but it's not looking good in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But the one thing I would just add, just to finish up, is that the difference now is that when that time frame comes up, whatever it is, 4 months or 3 months, whatever that time frame is for that first report. Now, if the report isn't produced, we actually have a reason to go after them for it. Whereas before there was nothing on them. There was no reason for them to tell us anything, right? And so now we have a law on the books that says they must do it. And so if they don't do it, we now have a legal reason to actually take them to court and force them to do it. And that's how real government gets sorted out.
Yes, but we also got to remember, too, that there's a good chance that these reports are going to be as vanilla, if not more vanilla, than the DNI report that we saw back in mid to late June of last year. I mean, there's a very good chance, John, that this is going to be absolutely nothing. It's easy to throw out a report and a couple of swamp gases and a couple of hot air balloons, but to get
look here, Eeyore. All right, the U.S. government just put into bloody writing into a U.S. legislative bill that UAPs are a real project. Would you just be a little bit happy for that?
No, John, I'm not trying to downplay it. Don't get me wrong. I'm totally not trying to downplay it at all. Okay, I just don't have the confidence in that they have the best what's the best attitude in mind. It doesn't even matter
if they have the best interest of anyone at heart, right? It doesn't really matter, because you're right. They're only ever going to release so much. If you really want the really raw stuff, if you really want the unfiltered information, it must come from private citizens.
You hope.
It must, because anything you get from the government, no matter how hard they try, no matter how good their intentions are, no matter how best foot they put forward, everything you get from them is going to be manicured.
we haven't heard anything in a few weeks from either Luis Elizondo or Chris Mellon regarding this subject.
Correct. Yeah, I just saw that Luis Elizondo did an interview a couple days ago that I haven't listened to yet, but that's the first I've heard of him.
Okay, so what do you think the silence with them is? Is it just the holiday time? Is they're waiting for Congress to get back and D.C. to get back to work after the holidays, or do you think that they are? So this is 1,000% speculation. Okay, but based on how I know how the system works, based on how I know how things go on, if they are smart, which they are, the instant they heard that bill was going to get signed by the president, they were both on a plane to DC, trying to shore up and premeditatively protect every single shot that gets fired, because this program is the most vulnerable at its infancy. And so this is the period of time where you go in and you start shoring up your position, and you start getting your resources and start getting your allies lined up, and you start building your fortifications, because once the funding comes and once the rubber hits the road, man, it's like blood in the water with a bunch of sharks. And that's what we're seeing right now. The question is how long will the Great Divide last? John, we're going to say a big thank you to you for a wonderful version of the new version of the Unbiased UFO Report. And, of course, your great job that you are doing on the weekends with the After Hours show with Gemma Jade and Big Willie. Continue the success with that, my friend. You're doing really, really well there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We had fun. We had a great time this weekend. There was one point where we were all pretty much dying over laughing with ourselves. So we were having a good time. So hopefully everyone else is having fun too.
All right. That's what it's all about, buddy. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. All right. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Beautiful story to kick off the year in the NHL, as hockey sometimes has some interesting stories happening behind the scenes. An NHL fan received a $10,000 scholarship for medical school after alerting a Vancouver Canucks employee to a melanoma on the back of his neck during a game. Brian Red Hamilton, whom I know, assistant equipment manager of the Vancouver Canucks, said the team was playing the Seattle Kraken in Seattle back on October 23rd when a woman knocked on the glass window behind him to get his attention. The woman held up her phone with a written message: "The mole on the back of your neck is possibly cancerous. Please go see a doctor." Hamilton said he took the advice and learned the mole was a malignant melanoma, a type of skin cancer. The Canucks posted a message on social media ahead of Saturday's game in Seattle in hopes of identifying the woman. The message you showed me on your cell phone will be forever etched into my brain, and it has made a true life-changing difference for me and my family, Hamilton wrote in the message. Your instincts were right, and that mole on the back of my neck was a malignant melanoma, and thanks to your persistence and the quick work of our doctors, it is now gone. The message soon received a reply from the mother of the woman, who was finally identified as Nadia Popovici, whose family have season's tickets for the Kraken. Popovici and Hamilton were able to meet face-to-face at Saturday's game, where Hamilton had a surprise for the 2019 University of Washington graduate. The Canucks and the Kraken had teamed up to present with her a $10,000 medical scholarship to her school. Popovici, who said at her time of volunteering in oncology wards, gave her the knowledge to recognize that Hamilton's melanoma, said she already has been, to recognize the melanoma, that is, and she's already been accepted to several schools to pursue her doctorate. Good for her. Weird one here. The weather is expected to be so cold for Saturday's National Hockey League game, the Winter Classic, that the ice will have to be heated. This one will take place between the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues, where the day's high temperature is expected to be about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill at about 20 degrees, minus 20 degrees. Oh, come on. Come on, that's warm. It's about what it is around the studio here. That's freezing cold. You don't want to play hockey in that. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And it's most likely to be even colder when the first puck is dropped, so mechanics are preparing to make the ice warmer. If that sounds kind of strange, here's why. When the temperature in the air is above the optimum ice temperature, the glycol and aluminum pans transfer heat away from the ice. But when the air temperature is below the optimum ice temperature, it transfers heat to the ice. So the NHL has used a custom-made inline heater before to warm up the glycol in the pipes on the way to the floor, but here it will use two inline heaters for the first time, one at the refrigeration truck and the other in the outfield. The crew can then calibrate the temperature by half a degree. Fans are also being considered too. The NHL ordered 40,000 hand warmers. The NHL Executive Vice President of Events, Dean Matsukaki, said the league is figuring out distribution plans, but if fans need some, they can request them from guest services. Blankets will be allowed as well. Oh, that's hockey. That is just hockey. A 57-year-old man has been put in jail after police found body parts and a severed head in an allegedly stolen truck. Eric Holland has prior felonies and federal court convictions dating back to the 1980s in states like California, Texas, and Nevada. Holland was in court along with some heavily armed security guards and a temporarily appointed attorney who declined to comment. Holland is being held without bail following his arrest after a traffic stop near the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino in Vegas. He tried to flee the scene. The air unit followed Holland and noticed that he switched trucks. Officers tried to stop him again, but he fled a second time. The air unit followed the vehicle and guided officers to the apartment complex near the 4200 block of West Rochelle Avenue. Holland threw 3 items at the officers in an attempt to flee. Police eventually caught him, tased him, and took him into custody, and that's when they've discovered the body parts and severed head in the truck. Now, hold on. If he stole another vehicle, that would mean that someone else has those body parts, doesn't it? I don't know. We're going to have to find out about this one. And finally tonight, a pair of Colorado students are being hailed as heroes after rescuing a dog that was swept away by an avalanche and buried in the snow. Scott Shepard said he was backcountry skiing the popular Birdhound Pass area with some friends and his dog Apollo when the 2-year-old Chesapeake Bay Retriever triggered an avalanche and was swept over a cliff. Bobby White and Josh Trujillo, Colorado School of Mines students who were skiing nearby, approached the group to make sure no one had been caught up in the avalanche. The 2 students, hearing that the dog had been taken by the snow, used probe poles to search through the debris, which they estimated to be about 300 yards long and 50 yards wide. The men searched for about 20 minutes, were able to leave the area of their own safety as they spotted Apollo's nose sticking out of the snow. Yes, this one is a happy ending. Let's get right to the thought of the day. Do you think there are ET human hybrids walking among us? Sparkle says, yes, I do. There have been 2 experiences where I felt the people were hybrids, and it's not that I purposely look for them. Lee doesn't believe so. Ted says, no, I can't get on board with the hybrid thing. Scarlet, in a sense, we already are, but yes, there are dragons among us. Penman, I think there's a good possibility that the hybrids are aliens living here. Chris, yep. Mark Zuckerberg, don't look any further. Vincent, some people themselves are ET human hybrids, and I don't even know it yet. Maybe that's why they are being awakened to the concept of ET contact, first to lessen the blow of enlightenment to their true origins. Jeannie, yes, they sometimes go to UFO conventions. My husband saw a man wearing a long black coat and a black hat with sunglasses and long straight black hair. He was pale, hanging around at one we were at. I never saw him. Weird. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. Thank you to John and Shirky Poo, and of course Swamp Dweller for his great story, and of course our guest, Marina Seren. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
It's the classic dilemma at Whataburger. You pick up your all-time favorite patty melt with 2 fresh all-beef patties, melted Monterey Jack cheese, grilled onions, and creamy pepper sauce. And just when you're about to dig into Whataburger's take on this delicious all-time classic, someone utters the dreaded words. Can I have a bite? Should you? Shouldn't you? Maybe you should just take a big bite so you don't have to answer. Ooh, glad that dilemma's over. The Whataburger patty melt, just like you like it.